All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to our weekly sync. So, woohoo, you guys made it. Another week, another PRs, and another learning journey, making our way through. So, I am going to pass the mic to Viet, and then he's going to take over from there.
All right. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about the pull requests. I did go over. I read through both of them. They were awesome. There was one point of confusion that I think we should talk about just real quick. The review process, and I'm sorry, part of it was like also my fault when I turned on the dismissal of reviews when new code is pushed. So the process now that we have in place is that once you open up your PRs, the other team reviews, and then the mentor review. So Jen is right now still in mentor review technically, even though you've made changes, they have not been approved yet. So the changes, even though pushed to your repo, Jen still needs to make final approval before we can merge. I could actually merge, but let's go through like the formal process of making that happen, because I think just in case she catches something else that she wants to make a comment on. So for today, we'll you can either use the deploy preview in your PRs, or you can run localhost to do your presentations. I'm good. Cool. And Yolanda, do you want to? I'll pass it back to you.
Sure. Okay. So who would like to demo first for this week's task? Anybody feeling adventurous being first? Oh, Mariah. All right. Go ahead. Let me know if you can still share screen. If not, I might have to change the settings. Actually, sorry. All right. Sorry. Okay. Are you able to screen share?
Let me take a look. Sorry. There's a lot going on in the background out here.
No worries.
All right, so let's see. My computer's being a little slow. Okay, don't look at that yet. Can everyone see my screen okay? Perfect. All right, so I just wanted to start by going over our ticket and what Weston and I worked on over the last week, which was making it possible for a user to create a new shopping list so they can start tracking their purchased items. Our acceptance criteria or summary was to generate the new token, save that token, and then redirect the user to their list view. And we did that by creating a button. So when they click that button, it redirects them, creates the token. When they click the button, it creates their token, redirects them to the list page, and saves their token to local storage. And so to prove that that is working, you can go ahead and take a look at what we have going on. So if you click on create a new list in your home page, you can see that it redirected us to the list page. And if we go ahead and inspect using our dev tools, it will show that we have a user that's saved in local storage right here. So if you go on over to our code, we can start going through how we set that up. I'll just briefly walk through it, where the create the new list function is and where we're generating that new token. And then in our home page, it shows where the button is and how when you click on that button, it takes in that list token and takes you to navigates you to the list page. But I'm going to let Weston take over and go through that a little more thoroughly for y'all. Weston, did you want to take the page?
Sure. Yeah, I can go ahead and share. Thank you. Oh, sorry, it wants to. Okay, there we go. All right, can you all see my screen? Wonderful. So yeah, the first thing that we can go over real quick is that redirect. So the way we decided to handle that was just to test to make sure that list token is indeed present. And if it is present in local storage, sorry, just to back up a second, list token is getting passed in to home.jsx from app. And so if the value of that exists, then we navigate to list. And just a quick note here, this is somewhere where Jennifer had a comment, because initially we had decided to say if list token is not equal to null, because that's what we've explicitly set it to in app.jsx. But Jennifer made the great point that rather than testing against null, it makes sense to do a truthy test, so that covers undefined and it covers null, it covers if it's just a random string. So that'll be a to-do for later, will be to further verify if that token is accurate. But so that's that. And then if we go over to app.jsx, you can see we have our create new list function, which again is getting passed. You can see down here in our return function, we're passing list token and create new list both over to home. And that function itself, we are using the generate token utility to get a new token, and then we are going to pass that new token to set list token, which is up above here. And just a quick note here, another one of Jennifer's helpful comments was to wrap this whole function here in the use callback hook. And that is, I'm still wrapping my mind around exactly like what's happening under the hood there, but my understanding is it creates a stable reference and prevents it from being another reference from being created unless this set list token changes. And then I think it's worth noting real quick what's happening here, because Via did a really great job of breaking down for me what's happening. I initially had a hard time understanding exactly how this was working, but you can see that on the left side here we are destructuring from use state with storage, so we're pulling out two methods from it. And at the same time, after or within that, we are passing initial values to it. And if we hop over real quick, you can see that it's using use state to set those initial values. But this was all code that was already present, so we don't need to go through it. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything that was in our scope.
Yeah, I think the last thing I forgot to mention is we did have to install a new dependency to make this all possible.
Sorry, I was on mute and tried to unmute myself. All right. Thank you guys for explaining that. Weston, thank you for, kind of diving deep in that use state with storage, because I haven't had the chance to deep dive your guys' code, but when I look at it, I was like, I wonder what that does. So that was really nifty of you just kind of show like a quick demo of how it all ties in together. So thank you for that. Mariah, Weston, good job. Woohoo. Anyone in this team have questions or need, like any other insights before we go to the next demo?
Yeah, I'm curious, did you try to pass in like an empty string before you did the truthy value on list token? Did you try to pass in an empty string?
Did you mean for the redirect, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was having some issues with that yesterday. I used, thank you again to Tina for showing us the console command to clear local storage. I used local storage.set value to try to explicitly set the value of the token as null or undefined, and it was redirecting anyway. and which was unexpected behavior because we would expect that to not pass the truthy test and not redirect. And then I realized that it was setting the value of the token as null as a string or undefined as a string. So I wasn't successful in actually testing that because I couldn't figure out how to actually make it null rather than null as a string, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Viet, is it okay if I move on to the next demo, or do you have any other? Okay, just making sure I'm covering everyone's bases. So Aniko, Tina, which one of y'all would like to share your screen?
Aniko, you're going to start, right?
Yes, give me just a second.
Awesome. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're still have our plan.
Yes.
I like that. Y'all have a plan. This is great.
We spent some quality time together this week. She's probably so sick of me by now.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay. So for this week, our task was to add code to the add item JSX that displays a form allowing the user to add a new item to their shopping list with an estimate of when they expect to make the next purchase of that item. This data is then added to the Firestore database so that it will immediately be added to the user's streaming list of items. And the acceptance criteria for the UI related task, the add item view displays a form that allows them to enter the name of the item and select how soon they anticipate needing to buy it again. The input that accepts the name of the item has a semantic label element associated with it. The user can submit this form with both the mouse and the enter key. When the user submits the form, they see a message indicating that the item either was or was not saved to the database. And then for the data related task, the console log in the add item function is replaced with the function that would then add a new document to the Firestore database. And just to demo what we did. So this is where the user would be able to add their new item. Let's do something else. I need a shirt. So adding this. Okay, and then you see here that it's been added. And then if we go over to the database, hit refresh. Uh-oh.
Hey, Arnisha, let me
Yes.
help you out here. So you
Okay.
see in the middle column, there are three like vertical lines up top, up a little higher. Yeah,
Here.
click on that. Click on name. Yep. And then the condition is double equals. So there's a drop down menu for that. Yep, and then drop down to double equals. And then type in shirt, and you should find that object. Probably capital S if you use capital S.
Now,
Is it in the test list or is it in the other collection? Oh no.
it should have been in the test list.
Okay. Try lowercase s, maybe if you type that in that way.
So I'm wondering because the reason that other list showed up under my test list was because when I ran it after having done Mariah and Weston's code, then I did have a token because because I was testing theirs out. So I wonder if you have one in local storage. Or if it is that, I don't know why it would be the same one. So anyway, I was just thinking it might be under that runt CVS egret. No, that was the one I did yesterday. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, those are mine from yesterday.
Yeah.
We did make some changes yesterday. They should be working though.
Arnika, when you put this in, was it through the PR link or is it just through your local host, like in your VS Code? I wonder if that
Local
would've-
host.
but it's tied into this Firebase, correct? I mean, it
Yes.
should.
Yeah, it was
Ah.
working earlier.
It's totally okay. I have done demos in front of my entire company where things just didn't work, and I was like, I'll make a video later and show y'all.
Well, I guess moving to the code. Okay, so as mentioned, we had to set up a form, which you'll see here, which included the input for the user to be able to enter the name of the item. And then we also had to create the checkbox for them to be able to input how soon they would need to buy this item again. So I know that Tina wanted to discuss like the labels. So I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my screen.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so yeah, so in our acceptance criteria, we had a couple of specifics like having a semantic label element associated with each item, and then being able to submit the form with both the mouse and the enter key, and then getting a message saying whether the item was saved or not saved. So so in our code, so our form has the two form fields, an item name and an estimate. And this was one of our revisions up at the top, lines 5 through 9. We added that yesterday at Jen's recommendation, that instead of having those numbers as what she referred to as magic numbers in the form values, that if we have this object to reference them, then it provides context for anyone in the future who might be trying to read and interpret the code. So those associate the labels of soon, kind of soon, and not soon with their number values. The numbers are strings, and that's for a particular reason that that we'll talk about too. And then our form, we have a form handler that takes the name property of each input and associates it with the value. So we have to make sure that our name matches exactly what we want it to. And let's see. So our handle submit, we used a handle submit because that addresses the question of ensuring that the user can either click on or push enter rather than doing an on click or a handle click with the button. So this is on the entire form on line 49, the handle submit. So that way when we get it functional again, we can demonstrate that it works with both the enter or the click. Our labels. So we had a couple different types of labels, or not types of labels, but labels that are working for different purposes, I guess. So for the field set, we have a label that has HTML for estimate, and that is the name on each of our radio button inputs. So that associates them as part of that group where the user will select one of those three. And then each of those has their own, has its own label as well. And that one associates the specific radio button with its word that indicates the number of days, soon, kind of soon, sorry, excuse me, or not soon. And then in the value and in the checked properties, that's where we reference those that object that we created up at the top as a constant variable. So let's see, that's the labels. And then what else were we going to talk about with the form? The feedback. So up here, when the user submits their form, if they do enter an empty item name, they'll be prompted currently with just a simple alert. I think in the future, we'd probably want to change that to like a flash message or something that isn't, I don't know, that's different from an alert, that looks a little nicer. But if they do enter a blank item, they'll be prompted to enter something else. And then if they do enter the item, they will, and there's a default, per the instructions, there's a default estimate of 7 chosen for the number of days, or the soon estimate. And so it will either default to that, or they will pick one. So they don't need to be prompted on that one. Here we have to add the operate. Oh, sorry, this cat is driving me crazy. We have to add the operator to change the string to a number. And she just made me lose my place. There we are. Because we had to make the numbers strings, and Arniqua can maybe speak to this a little bit more, but because she dug into it, we were unable to put values of number in our radio button inputs. So here's where we change those to numbers, and then we use the add item function, and that's a function that comes from our Firebase API. And we'll reference that in a second. So when they click on add item, that should add the item to the Firestore, and then they should get this success message. And then it resets the form data. So this add item form, we're importing it from Firebase, and over here we added that function we added the function add doc to Firebase, and then replaced, well, on line 51, this was a console log previously, so we just replaced it with add doc, which is just from the Firebase Firestore documentation. That's the function to add a new item to a collection, or add a new document is the terminology. And so I think that about covers it, unless there are any questions.
I do have a quick question. So if the user don't put anything, it pops up, you need to enter like an item. So what if there's a duplicate? Like if I put down, like, I don't know, Arnika put on shirt and I put on shirt again, is there another pop-up that says like item is already on the list? Or
no, we didn't do anything for that situation. I think it would have been nice, but we kind of had our hands full.
Oh no, yeah. No, I was just wondering, that's all, because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I missed it. I saw the empty input, but I was wondering about the thing.
Yeah, no, currently, like, you could add the same object over and over and over again. So that's something that we probably want to, add in later on as a some error handling.
Yeah, definitely, you could ask everyone what their input is, because this is, everyone's project. Would they like to have an alert or, some sort of notification that it is there? Or maybe some people just like to have duplicates in their list as a shopping list. It's probably per user, preferences. But all right, awesome. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Sure.
I'd like to hear about the number versus string input from Arniqua, if you're the one that.
Yes, so I was reading the MDN because we kept going back and forth about like whether or not we should put it as a number for the value, and it wouldn't work, and we're trying to figure out why it wouldn't work. And so when I read the documentation, it just listed that for the value it had to be a string. So since the value for the radio buttons had to be a string, we felt it was easier when comparing the two to like check that specific radio button to make both of them a string, since we had to use the strict what is it, strict equality operator, the 3 equals. Yeah, so it was easier just to make both of them a string initially for comparison purposes, and then in the function later just convert it to a number so that it can be added to the fire base. Yeah, that
Yeah.
thing.
Was there like a certain reason why you chose that plus sign to convert, or is that just like a stylistic choice?
Initially we used the capital N and then just did the number. And then I think when we went in and made some changes later, we just changed it over to the plus. So no specific reason.
Okay, yeah. There's just wondering. There are a couple different ways to do it, and I was just wondering if like that was just a preference from somewhere that you had picked up from somewhere else. Yeah, and just I just want to make a comment about the alert. There is a website. There is like an application that my company uses for like HR stuff, and it has It has like the alert, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. That's an interesting UI choice. So I am not a fan of it myself, but if saying that, if you do decide to go with the alert, that's totally fine. I just am not. I just look at it, I'm like, okay. But there's like no, yeah. Again, there's like no right or wrong choice on how you decide to build your application.
So I have a question about that. Yeah, like from when we were working on it, I just kind of thought alert is just like a simple, easy way to give feedback, you know, while we're tackling like all of these kind of more challenging issues that were part of this this ticket. So I guess like without having to say, I don't know, get like elaborate with because I think with React you have to import something for if you want to do flash messages. I don't think you can just like do a flash message, or maybe you can. But anyway, I guess what would be maybe a better alternative for giving that feedback without getting like really into more complicated code that would take a long time.
Yeah, and this is just my preference. And I remember when my team did this also, where we just chose to do something. I'm pretty sure we chose to do something other than an alert. But I think there are form validations that you can do. Is one way to do it. Basically, if it is empty, it'll be like a message in the form, like underneath the input.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's like one way without having to like import any other components, or like a pop-up, or a modal, for instance. You can do it as a modal. I've seen that done a lot. But it is like it's completely up to your team on how you want to move forward with the design. So yeah.
I think we were just looking at it as like that, almost like a like something that I think one of you all mentioned last week, that that toward the end of our 8 weeks that we'll have a lot more time to work on our UI. And I think in our minds that was sort of like, okay, that's one that will be addressed down the line.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. Just the same as how you chose not to handle the duplicate inputs. That's out of scope of what you needed to do. Had you had time, maybe you could have done that, but you hit the AC. So and that's really when you're I think the issues were really dense this week. When you are kind of like working on something that is very time consuming and just takes a lot of effort, it's hard to add those like these are kind of like nice to have things that you can do that you'll have time to build later.
And is there a good place for us to like kind of keep a running list of those things collectively that we want to go back to do, right? But like I guess I'm thinking more of like a
Slack thread.
No more Slack threads.
Another.
I don't know, somewhere where it would be kind of like a list of those nice to haves.
Right.
That we can go back and sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me. I want to say that in that time period where it's a little bit more open, you'll. I mean, this is later on, so it's kind of like keep it in the back of your minds. Or I don't think that's a great way to personally not a great way to do it because it's kind of easy to forget. The to-dos
That's what I'm
that,
thinking. Yeah.
that you all have been putting into the code already are a really good place to do it. And I think we can talk about this over the course of this coming week asynchronously. If we want to have you already add tickets to the board, that is like I think that is a really good way to have it set. It doesn't mean we're going to do it. It just means like, hey, I have this idea that I want to implement later on. Let's put it on the board. We can just leave it as like a to do, and it doesn't have to be done, right? But it'll be there. So then, you know, you won't have to think about it later.
Thanks.
For now, until we determine like whether or not we want to go ahead and start doing the tickets, could we keep like a shared Google Doc to add our ideas for now?
Yeah,
And then,
that's a great idea.
okay, I'll create that.
Okay, awesome.
Great idea, Arniqua. With the to-do thing, I guess I was wondering if, in addition to that, like a shared list or creating tickets, is it acceptable practice to leave a comment like that in line in the code? So like you know exactly like here we would like to eventually validate this thing or test for this, or
Yeah, for sure. I've seen that quite a bit. I've done it. The senior engineer that I work with does it all the time.
okay.
Just I would say, as long as it's like the ones that you put in there, they're very simple and like, hey, we want to let's think about this, right? It's kind of like, you know, kind of keep it short and concise, just as a reminder. It doesn't have to be like a fully fleshed out idea, but
So don't put one of my Slack novels into the code. Is that what you're saying?
not exactly, but yeah, I like the comments that you've made for your to-dos in your code have been perfect.
I think I also want to emphasize like what, you know, Tina and Arniqua, they had to pick and choose like what to cover first and whatnot. And I think that's a, you know, a very valid point to talk about during an interview process too. So something for you all to kind of have that in the back of your mind, like if you're ever in a time, if you can't accomplish all or you wanted to do more, why did you do X, Y, and Z? So for, you know, Tina and Arniqua, like they focused on the, you know, the like just the acceptance criteria and then the alert message, because that gives that feedback for everyone to see, okay, yes, it is working. So move on to that next step, because the other stuff are more important than making a better alert system or a notification, right? So, and it's great that they were focused on those acceptance criteria and they didn't deviate their, you know, energy and time on trying to do extra or be stuck on that alert, like, oh, I want to do more. What else can we do? If they haven't finished the other task yet. So I just kind of want to bring that up because that's great that they were in this conundrum and they're like, oh, but we want to do more, but we were stuck on, you know, with these issues, and they focused on those issues first before doing the extra. So kudos to y'all for doing that and focusing. I think there was something I wanted to say, but now I forgot. Oh, my duplicate. I think that might be a story later down the line, because I could have sworn we may have tackled that with my team, but I might have confused it with another story. So I know I saw so many cats too, I got distracted. But yeah, so let me share my screen. Oh, I'm sorry, before I go on, any other questions, comments? I love the Google Doc share idea. I think that's what my team did for the last 2 weeks when we wanted to discuss on how to make it prettier and what, you know, framework to use for that. So Google Docs, Notion, whichever makes it's easiest for the teams to kind of communicate and keep that to-do list and an ideas list. But before I move on, any other comments, questions, concerns? Nope. Okay. Sorry, I had to check my time, make sure we don't go over today. I will be sharing my screen and we will go into our retro. Woohoo! Let's see. I think this should be the right one. Let me know if you can see my screen. A-okay? Okay. I am also using an external monitor, so If it's too small, please let me know and then I will zoom in. Is this okay? Can everybody see the words, or do I need to zoom in a little bit more? Because I can do that.
If you could zoom in a little, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Not a problem. Okay. So I don't know if you read Viet, what Viet posted in the sync in our Slack, what a retro is. So every company does it differently, I want to say. The first team that I was on, we did our retro every 2 weeks. And it's what you see this on the board of, we talked about what went well, things to improve, our action items. This give a shout out is new. I saw it on another board and I thought that was really cool to add. So I wanted to add it for our team because I definitely want to give those shout outs, but it's a hit and miss, I think. I think some team has it, some teams may not. For my team, we kind of give praise inside the what went well as well. So it's kind of a combination of both. And then the new team that I'm on, we do our retro once a month instead of every 2 weeks. So it varies depending on the team. Viet, what about on your end? How does your team do the retros?
Yeah, so we have a retro every 2 weeks that is in line with kind of like how the original way we used to do sprint cycles. Sprint cycles can be, I think, generally 2 week cycles. But yeah, we talk about, you know, what generally what went well, what didn't go well, what we want to try, and what puzzles us is like the categories that we have. But it's this general idea of like, let's reflect on our work, the work that we've done in the past 2 weeks, and let's talk about it. You know, it's like, and I think the focus on what we want to do here is kind of focus on like the positives, right? Like what did we do well, and if we want to kind of like point out like certain things that in the chat I was like that someone or the team did particularly well.
So I will kind of read through what's posted here for now, and then and we could, for my team, what we typically do, I have a Kanban leader, and she will ask the team like any verbal input and she'll type it in. I think every team does it differently as well. The old team that I was on, they like to share this link ahead of time, so then we could put in our information. So during the meeting, we could just go through it instead of spending time putting an input. But there's no right and wrong. It really depends on the flow of the team. So under what went well, we have Jen's comment of Rainbow, health communication team-wide Rainbow. I agree. This team is rocking it with the communication. And then down here with Viet, he said, not only has communication been positive, but you all have been have contained conversation in Slack threads, woohoo, and keeps the channel clean, conversation easy to follow, and in GitHub PRs. I put down awed and amazed what I've seen in the past 2 weeks, love seeing the communication. It is on point, asking all those questions in Slack and PR, and taking the feedback really well. I want this to keep it going. And Mariah put down communication. I appreciate how there is no fear to ask questions to make sure we're moving in the right direction. I also appreciate how collaborative and open to new idea everyone is. It's such an important skill to have when working with the team. So thank you for that, Mariah. Anybody else? Anything that you felt that went well these past 2 weeks? And I will add it to our board.
I'll go. I think what went well is I think everyone is really open to, number one, like answering the questions and just being supportive in general. So you're not afraid to ask questions. So I appreciate that. I feel like, yeah, everyone has been super supportive and willing to explain pretty much anything.
Sorry, I'm typing as fast as I can. I kind of. Okay. I hope I spelled your, Arnico, did I spell your name right?
I can't see it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm typing?
Not
Oh, no.
no.
Oh, okay. Let me just add it. Let me
No,
see.
I can see what you're.
Maybe it's just my laptop screen because I can't see it.
Oh, no, it didn't add. What happened? Oh, or did it? Sorry. Why didn't it? Oh, no. All right, let me try it one more time. Sorry, you guys have to remind me again. Communication. Oh, and no fear of asking questions. Supportive. Oof. What else did you say, Aniko? I put down communication, no fear of asking questions, feeling supportive.
Yeah, yeah, and just everyone's willing to answer your questions, no matter how big or small.
You know what? Let me just copy and then make sure I don't lose it. Why is it not adding? What am I missing here? Oh, I guess I just had to hit enter. All right. Today I learned. All right. Anybody else would like to put input on what went well? Or any discussion? You don't have to put it on the board if you don't feel comfortable, but we could also talk about it. Does everyone agree? Is there anything else that you want to, put in, or you think this kind of covers it all?
Variations on a theme, but it's just felt so wonderfully welcoming. Like we all come from different backgrounds, and I didn't know any of you prior to this, but like it feels remarkable how quickly it feels like we've gelled and working well together. And it's, yeah, the welcoming is huge. Sorry, you have to convert my word salad.
No, I mean, everyone, if I'm like not doing good job, please, like, you could edit it or tell me and then I'll fix it. I want to make sure I catch everything. Oh, I forgot I have to hit enter. There you go. All right. Anyone else? Thank you for that input, Weston. Anyone else that kind of want to cover anything else? And I'm like repeating myself, but yeah. Sorry, you were saying something, Tina?
Yeah, I was just going to add that like the response time on, I don't know, questions, feedback, everything has been amazing. Like, I know you guys are, working your regular jobs. So I'm just super impressed when, I ask a question on Slack and like 3 seconds later, there's an answer.
When I was doing my Collab experience, it felt like the mentors are just on all the time. Like, I didn't expect this. Even, I think I take a little page from their book for sure, where they're like, yeah, you don't have to be on, but it's nice when Collabs get feedback like pretty quickly. But that was very nice for me to see. So I'm glad that we're able to do that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that kind of covers it. Sorry, I'm gonna do a quick speed run because I don't want to go over our time. So I think we're good on what went well. I think this team is amazing, and y'all do really great in the communication and just kind of helping each other out. So far so good. Keep up the good work. Things to improve. Now this is always like the tough one because I know my team is pretty quiet when it comes to trying to put feedback on that. But does anyone have any insights on things to improve?
I do want to talk about the kind of confusion with PRs real quick again. Sorry about the way I set the rules. That was a little bit confusing. Just like the dismissals were kind of like back and forth. I realized like it was not quite necessary. Yeah, and I have complete confidence that we will iron it out. If not this week, then we have time. But yeah, and one thing I want to point out is like it felt very much to me like a sprint that I've been through, where at the we have what we call like the branch cut, where if you don't get your work in, it doesn't make it into production for the release. It felt like this for you all, and I was like, whoa, this is like actually a really kind of like a real world experience right now. It happens. It doesn't mean that you at all failed in any ways or like things don't make it into release sometimes. That's fine. We have like next week to do it. So and when Jen does approve your PRs, I think you can merge that at any time. So I'm glad that you all got that experience of like going through the PR process and like the final approval process.
All right, I'm gonna just keep it PR rules for, is that all right? But like what Viet said, like this is like evolving, right? As the weeks go on, we're gonna see a lot of hiccups here and there, and we're just gonna learn from that. So I'm glad that we're seeing this early on and not like towards the end, and you know, it would have complicated things more. But PR rules, anything else? Anyone else wants to put in input about things to improve or they would like to see improve? If not for the team, I guess for themselves.
I have a question that then may lead to an item. So for the like each weekly sync that's recorded, like for example, has last week's sync been made available for us to view it?
No, that is me. I dropped the ball. So that's going to be my action item, is to I realized that this morning. I'm like, I don't think I uploaded last week's video. So and that is going to be my action item. So action item is kind of like things to do in preparation for next week. So I will definitely be working on this. Thank you, Arnika, for reminding me of adding that. So sorry for the delay of last week's video, and I will post it up hopefully before the end of day, if not weekend, for both videos. Anyone else of things to improve or action item? Sorry.
I have an action item for myself, or
Okay.
for Yolanda, if you want to do that. But so last week, Tina, thank you for reminding me that Parabot threads need to be created. Let's put that on the action item for this week so that I remember to do it after sync is over, as to create Parabot threads.
You know what? Let's say I made to create the Parabot threads. Or one of us action item. All right. Anything else? Things to improve? We'll just merge today. I mean, discussion right now. Things to improve or action item. Anyone see that or want to add any concerns or want to improve, or for themselves, any action items that they kind of want to try out for this upcoming week?
I don't know if I have like a specific action item around this, but just something that I've realized between last week and this week and doing pair programming is that I find it really hard to like problem solve while, you know, being live, while being synchronous with a partner. I feel like that's just a skill that I want to develop. I know like Arnika and I definitely ran into some challenges this week, and I felt like my brain just like froze up when we were together. And then when I was by myself, which of course, like most of my experience with coding so far is by myself, I was much better. It was much easier for me to just like be clear-minded and think through things. And so that when we met back up again, I was able to communicate like what I was thinking better. But yeah, I'd like to become better at being able to effectively problem solve in that collaborative moment.
Oh, that's a good one. And I'm always struggling with that too. I don't know if that's yeah, what do you think? If
I mean, I don't know if maybe it doesn't belong on this type of a like team thing, but yeah, I just
I don't think we need to create like a ticket for that, but I think it's good to have that discussion right now, right? Yeah, does anybody else have any thoughts on what Tina said?
I just appreciate you putting words to that, because I definitely experienced the same thing.
Yes, I feel I'm on the same boat even today. Like my brain is like a whiteboard, and when I start pair programming live, it's just like erases everything, and I'm like, oh man, I do know it, but I'm so sorry. I just, it's not, you know. And then once the camera's off and I'm by myself, and then it's just like hits me like a floodgate. I'm like, oh yeah, see, I think I know what's going on. No, I think from what I've heard is a lot of just keep practicing. And then just putting yourself in that situation. I'm hoping by the end of this 8 weeks, y'all feel a little bit more comfortable. And then while you're working with everyone else, you'll get to like kind of get a feel for it. And you guys could talk about it. It's like, hey, let's meet an hour now and then take a break, and then we could meet an hour or the next day after I process things, you know. So whatever works for you and your partner, and then just definitely plan it out and communicate. Because sometimes for me, I was like, is it okay if we take a breather and meet up again an hour tomorrow? And then, you know, my partner's like, yeah, sure, you know, and just at least it lets me kind of fester it in my mind and continue on to the next. So, okay, that is more personal, but I love the discussion. Anyone else on a group tier of things to improve or action items? If not, you guys could always add a little bit later onto this board. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. So before we run out of time, let's go to the next week's issue, which is number 5 and number 6. So task number 5, as a user, I want to join an existing shopping list so I can share a shopping list with another person. So the summary is we want to allow users to join existing shopping lists so they can manage them with friends or family. This would take the following step. User enters an existing token into a form. The token is saved to local storage. The user is taken to the list view and shown the existing list. And these are the acceptance criteria. Does anyone, so I'm going super fast because we're kind of running low on time. Anyone would like to take this? I'm sorry, who is this week's pair? I didn't.
It is Tina and Mariah. Wait, am I on the right?
Tina and Weston.
Yeah, sorry, Tina and Weston.
Tina.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And Arniqua and Mariah. Thanks, Tina.
Or think about it. Let me just go to number 6. Number 6, as a user, I want to filter my shopping list to make it easier to locate an item in the list. So the summary, allowing users to search through their list will help them cut down on clutter and focus on items they're looking for. So the acceptance criteria, a form is added to the top of the list view above the shopping list, and then the form includes the following elements: a text field with a semantics label, which narrows down the list as the user types, and then when there's text in the field, some kind of button like an X to clear the field. When the field is cleared, the list reset is its unfiltered state. And that is for story number 6. Anyone would like to take this? Any team?
I would like to take number 5, actually.
Number 5, Arniqua said. Let's see. Okay. And sorry, you guys have to remind me again. Who was your partner for this week, Arniqua?
Mariah.
Mariah. Okay. And then, so number 6 would be Tina. And then West. Okay, there it is. All right, perfect. I know we have like 4 minutes left. Any questions, concerns, comments before we end our session?
I have a question for Mariah. How is your project going? Your other project going?
It's good. It's good. We just started. We're only a couple days in to actually playing with code. So next week is going to be a true sprint week.
Oh, what's this project? I think I missed out.
Yeah, so I'm in my final project stage for Alchemy, my program, and I'm on a group of 3, and we're making an app where you can search for dog parks near you. You can favorite your dog park, and then you can also check yourself into a dog park, so you can see who's all there. So if your friend's dog or your dog's friends are there, you can see that they're there and go join them at the dog park. We're also hoping to have a feature where it's like friendly or unfriendly. So if you know there's a dog there your dog doesn't like, you don't go to that dog park, you go to a different one. And yeah, so your dogs will have their own profile. And because you usually don't know the other owner's name, you just know the dogs. So we're focusing on that. You don't have to deal with people.
I love it. I love that idea. Please do share if you feel comfortable sharing once it's done, because I think I need it for myself. I became a dog mom a few months ago. This is my first time owning a dog, so there's a lot I'm still learning. So I would love to have this on my phone. Like,
I got the dog that I said I was trying not to.
oh, basking in the sunlight. Happy life. I love it. Oh, okay, good to know, Tina. I just read her chat. She said, I ran our code locally and it's working. It might be. So if you and Arnika are comfortable there, you guys could record your session, the working, and then share it with us as well, just because we're like 2 minutes left and I don't want to take up anyone's time and to go over. But whichever you feel comfortable. And as a future reminder, if you all do miss a Saturday session and you have to demo, I've done it before where I would pre-record myself to show the task my partner and I worked on. And then so I will give that demo to my partner and then they would kind of continue on or, you know, add more verbiage to my demo, like the video. So something to consider. So you don't all have to say like, hi, I'm going to miss, like you could record pre-hand and just kind of share it with us or your partner could share it on Saturday. I think that's enough me talking. Anyone else? Any questions? Anything? Nope. All right. I think I'm going to stop the recording.